The Galactic Council chamber on Zenith. Prime had known fear before, but never like this. Ambassador Threx of the Crystalline. Sirid stood at the center of the vast circular hall. His body, made of shimmering mineral plates, usually glowed with confidence. Tonight, the glow barely flickered. Emergency lights cast long shadows across the chambers, exaggerating the tension radiating from every representative present. 47 member species, each a marvel of evolution, gathered in silence. Some sat in ice-cold thrones because their forms demanded sub-zero conditions. Some floated within energy fields, unable to survive without them. Others, those with claws or armor, remained coiled and ready, as though physical readiness might somehow matter. Threx's voice resonated through a translator, soft pulses of light converted into universal frequencies. 17 worlds, gone. A hologram flickered to life above the circular center platform. It displayed a lush planet swirled in oceans and living green, a jewel of life. Then black shapes, organic vessels like obsidian leviathans, descended. Darkness spread like a disease. Then hours, the world was coated in ashen gray. Within days, gas form scientist. Dr. Illyra floated anxiously. The particles of her body swirled in agitated chaos. They do not simply conquer, she said. They consume everything. High Commander Zark, an insectoid warrior bred for battle, slammed a bladed limb against his chair. We have tried. Every weapon in our arsenal. Energy beams, plasma warheads, quantum disruption mines, and still they evolve. Every hour, their weapons improve. Every minute, their armor hardens. They learn us. And we can't learn them fast enough, Illyra whispered. Counselor Telnus, mammalian herbivore struggling to remain calm, raised trembling paws. What of the fleets patrolling the outer colonies? Zark's mandibles clicked once shamefully. Lost. The Third Armada engaged them at Kelvorn. Out of 300 ships, 12 limped away. Silence descended, thick with despair. War was something many council species studied as a historical curiosity. They had long evolved past primal violence. Their civilizations flourished through cooperation, diplomacy, intellect, but the enemy at their doorstep was indifferent to diplomacy. It devoured logic and life alike. The Ravagers swarmed. No one could deny the truth now. The galaxy was prey. So, a voice murmured from the shadows. Is this the end? Threx's crystalline fingers hovered over a console. Star map emerged, thousands of green lights marking council worlds. Red lights marked Ravager conquests, devouring everything in a sweeping arc toward the galactic core. But among the map, scattered across the void, were yellow lights, uncontacted species, observed but never approached. Not because they were primitive, but because they were dangerous. These worlds, Threx spoke carefully, are categorized as Deathworld class. Disquiet rippled through the chamber. Dr. Illyra drifted closer. How dangerous. Extreme gravitation. Hostile ecosystems. Toxic air. Predators at every scale. These species did not evolve in safety. They evolved in carnage. A reptilian diplomat hissed sharply. Savages, survivors, Threx corrected, voice steady. We need fighters. We need species that do not collapse when death comes close. The debate erupted, chaos breaking through the chambers, polished tranquility. We cannot ally with monsters. They will turn on us. We should never have approached them. Threx let the panic surge, then raised a crystalline arm. Light burst from his core, demanding silence. We have one choice. Send a universal distress call. To every species, including quarantined ones. And if they attack us instead of the Ravagers? A delegate challenged. Threx answered without hesitation. Then we die faster. A vote was called, by a thin, trembling margin. The galaxy chose desperation. The distress call was encoded in mathematics, the language of creation itself. It demanded nothing, pleaded only for help. And they waited 3 days. 3 long days while the Ravagers consumed the distant colony of Cartha IV. Responses came, few and confused. Then Dr. Illyra's containment suit crackled violently. Ambassador, we just received a reply. From a Deathworld system. Threx rushed to the display. The signal was sharp, efficient, confident. Origin. United Earth command message. SOS received. Assistance en route. Hold position. Threx felt his crystalline spine stiffen. They're coming. He stared at the simplified image included in the packet, a biped figure fragile-looking, standing atop a world of storms and oceans and endless predator life. Humans. He whispered the word like a warning, or a prayer. We summoned death, and it answered. The message spread like wildfire. Species panicked or rejoiced, none truly understanding what arrival they awaited. Only, Threx contemplated the deeper data packet. The file labeled Terran Classification, Humanity Deathworld. Extreme. He skimmed the physiological analysis. Stronger bones than any council species. Musculature evolved from endurance hunting. High toxicity filtration. Eyes designed for tracking prey. Biology that ignored pain to continue pursuit. A history of relentless conflict against nature, against each other, and always surviving. Surviving when logic suggested extinction. Dr. Illyra's voice softened. We should be hopeful. Threx shook his brightening head. No, we should be cautious. He whispered what he now believed. We do not understand what we have called upon. Meanwhile, far from the Council's polished halls on a spinning blue deathworld full of miracle and madness, Lieutenant Kim Torres of the United Earth Orbital Relay Station yawned into her mug, ready for another shift of boredom until an alarm blared. A signal unlike anything encoded by humans' mathematics. Clean, elegant, universal, unfolding into images of dying worlds. Sir, she whispered, heart pounding, you need to see this. Within minutes, message traveled across every military network on Earth. Within hours, humanity learned. They were not alone, and someone needed them. Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the center of the command chamber, a soldier who had stared death in the eyes more than once. Her words were final. If this threat is real, they will eventually find us. I'd rather meet them far from home, while our families sleep safely. One voice among many muttered, we could pray it's all fake. Chen looked up at the stars displayed above. You can pray, she said softly, but we still prepare. Lieutenant Torres blinked, quietly considering that if humans existed by accident, it was one hell of a coincidence, she whispered beneath her breath. Maybe to no one, maybe to someone. Don't let us go alone. 72 hours later, 147 ships, 4,200 Marines, 36,000 sailors, pilots, engineers, humanity's first interstellar war fleet. Engineers sealed the last hull plates. Pilots kissed icons around their necks, private wishes to higher beings that might be listening. Some prayed because fear demanded hope. Some prayed because deep inside they always believed. A final message burst into the void. Assist. Hold position. We're coming. Then FTL ignition, Earth flashed behind them. Stars warped into streaks of impossible light. Humanity, the apex predator of a death world, answered the galaxy's call, not for conquest, not for glory, but because someone was dying, and humans refused to watch. The Ravagers are advancing faster than expected, and humanity has just stepped into a war they do not understand against an enemy that learns. Hyperspace was not silent. Inside the Indomitable's bridge, the flagship of humanity's hastily assembled fleet, space itself howled past the reinforced windows and distorted ribbons of impossible color. A low vibration hummed through the plating underfoot. Like the heartbeat of a giant iron beast pushing itself beyond design limits, Captain. Marcus Webb stood with both hands braced on the command rail. Young for a captain, early 30s, shoulders molded by weight of war, eyes sharpened by decisions no one should have to make. He had been born on a planet that had tried to kill him. Every day of his childhood, Earth, the deadliest nursery the galaxy had ever seen. This enemy, these Ravagers, they reminded him too much of Earth's own merciless nature. But they were smarter, growing stronger, learning. We might be stepping into a suicide mission. Webb inhaled, slow, steady. A whisper slipped from his lips, so faint no crew member heard. If someone out there listens, watch over us. He wasn't a religious man, but war had taught him this. Surviving by chance felt too arrogant to believe. Some things took more than luck. A voice came from his right. "You good, sir?" Lieutenant Marin Adams, Chief Navigator. Smirk always present. Fear never admitted. Webb nodded. "Just thinking about what comes next?" "You mean the aliens?" she asked, eyes wide with mischief. "Our first contact is a bunch of diplomats who called the biggest predators in the galaxy for help. That's bravery. Or peak stupidity." Webb chuckled barely. "We'll know soon." He looked out as hyperspace-distorted stars stretching like cosmic brushstrokes. 3 weeks of flight compressed into hours. Humans had traveled through a corridor of radiation, so intense that any council vessel would have melted into atoms. But humans were stubborn. A physics said, "Don't go there." Humans forged a way through. The CUM system pinged. Admiral Chen's voice filled the bridge. "All ships, prepare to exit FTL." Webb fastened his harness. "Adams, drop us on my mark." A hush spread as the countdown began. 3, 2, 1. Reality snapped back. Stars returned. Alarms buzzed. The crew gasped, because what lay before them was a civilization gasping for air. The Zenith Prime system sprawled ahead, glimmering cities on floating platforms, colossal stations orbiting a luminous blue sun, countless habitats packed with species that had been living in prosperity and peace for centuries. Now, all of it trembled. The Ravagers were already ripping through the outskirts. 3 colony worlds darkened by ashen scars. Communication. Requests flooded in instantly, shapes and sounds from species Webb had never dreamed existed. Signal from the Council flagship. "Sir," Communications Officer Waleed called. "They're requesting a visual." Patch them through. The hologram flickered to life, revealing 3 council leaders looking nervous and curious. Especially curious. High Commander Zark, towering insectoid, mandibles clattering with barely contained terror. Ambassador Threx, crystals dimmed with stress fractures forming. Dr. Illyra, swirling gas, bright with scientific hunger. Behind them, dozens of alien officers watched the humans like they were wild animals. Unpredictable. Dangerous. Admiral Chen appeared beside Webb in the hologram, standing tall in her crisp uniform. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of United Earth Command. We received your distress call. We're here to fight." Commander Zark leaned forward, eyes narrowing. "Your vessels. They lack energy shielding. You rely on metal plating." Chen didn't blink. "We do. And your weapons. They use kinetic projectiles. You hurl metal at targets?" Chen gave a single nod. Zark's mandibles clicked twice, disbelief dripping off every syllable. "That is barbaric." "Yes." Webb stepped in, tone frost-edged. "Sometimes the old ways are best, especially when survival is on the line." Threx raised a crystalline arm. "We thank you for coming. But you must understand the situation. The Ravagers are unlike anything we saw the footage." Webb cut in. "Show us what's left of your fleet." Zark displayed a tactical feed. 42 council ships scattered and dying. Ravagers swarmed like a black ocean, swallowing them whole. Chen's voice hardened. "We hold that line now." Zark tried again. "You cannot possibly think." "We did not cross the void just to watch another civilization die," Chen declared. "Guide us to the battlefront." The humans didn't wait for approval. They were already coming, hours later at brink of the Corvain system. What they found? Webb would remember forever. Worlds, 3 of them stripped of life. No oceans, no vegetation. Just dead stone. Council ships fleeing. Enemy ships chasing, intent on boarding and consuming every being inside. Get between them. Webb ordered human steel thundered into the fray. Open fire. Railguns launched tungsten slugs at near-light speed, each impact carving chunks out of Ravager vessels. Missiles tore apart enemy clusters, leaving glowing debris fields sparkling. Like macabre stardust, the enemy hesitated, shock vibrating. Through the swarm, they had never fought a species that believed pain was simply the start of a fight, the council observed. Stunned, Dr. Alira whispered, "The humans. They chase them? Why do they not retreat?" Ambassador Threx's crystalline chest pulsed, because they evolved on a world where retreat meant extinction. On board, the indomitable alarms echoed, "Sir. Enemy boarding craft incoming." Webb's jaw set like iron. Marines, weapons free. Powered armor stomped into corridors. Shields activated over helmets. Rifles loaded, bullets, not plasma. Because humans knew one truth: if you can't kill it with fire, use something heavier. Ravagers burst through hull plating, all chitin and teeth, and psychic shrieks. The corridors roared with gunfire. Marines slammed into them like a tidal wave of wrath. Shotguns exploded, creature torsos point blank. Blades carved through alien limbs. Bones cracked. Armor dented. Blood sprayed walls. Close combat? Something no council species dared. But humans were built from close combat. When one Marine was knocked flat, a Ravager pounced. The Marine's hand shot up, grabbing the beast's skull, and he whispered through gritted teeth, "Not today." He crushed its head against the floor. Hours passed like years. The enemy finally broke. What remained of the Ravagers fled into deep space. The council watched, silent. Human ships were torn, bruised, bleeding molten metal into vacuum, thousands of humans dead, but the line held. The first victory against the swarm in galactic history, Zark activated the channel, voice trembling with awe. You bought us time." Shun wiped soot from her cheek. "Calm through exhaustion. Use it wisely." Birds chilled even. Webb, because he saw her face, she knew this. Wasn't a win. It was a message, and the enemy had heard. His crews rushed to repair damage and tend the wounded. Webb stepped alone to a viewing window, watching the silent grave of a world below. Billions had died here. What if humanity had waited too long? He wondered again why they survived this battle. Why he survived? Not luck. Luck didn't feel like this. He whispered again, quietly, a voice meant for something greater than himself. "Whoever's guiding this, don't stop now." He didn't know if he believed in a god, but he believed there was more than chaos in the universe. Elena Clark, Chief Tactical Officer, walked up behind him. Soft smile. Shaken eyes. "Any regrets yet?" she asked gently. He didn't look at her. "Only that we arrived late." Elena nodded. "Then look toward the stars. They're beautiful," she whispered. "Too perfect to be an accident, don't you think?" Webb said nothing, but his heart answered for him. The swarm is regrouping. 10,000 ships are coming, and humanity just taught the enemy that Earth will not die quietly. The celebration did not last long. Inside the shattered remains of the Council's main tactical station, alien technicians scrambled to stabilize comms. The battle had shown something no one expected. The Ravagers were not invincible, and predators never forget an injury. Captain Marcus Webb paced the Indomitable's briefing room as tactical screens refreshed with new intelligence every minute. Crew members looked exhausted, bruised, and bandaged, but adrenaline still burned behind their eyes. "Commander," Elena Clark stepped beside him, voice low. "Survivor testimonies coming in from the colony satellites. Just one message repeats over and over." Webb glanced at her. "What message?" "They say the Ravagers learned." The room went silent. Even the hum of the ship seemed to fade. Lieutenant Marin Adams leaned forward at the table. "What do you mean learned?" "They've always evolved." Elena turned the display, showing footage from earlier Council battles. The Ravagers had swarmed in messy waves. It's predictable and instinct-driven. Then she showed new footage recorded only hours after humanity's intervention. Same ships, same beasts, but organized. Boarding vessels no longer rushed in single, predictable paths. They flanked. They adjusted fire patterns. They reacted to railgun bursts by spreading in evasive formations instead of collapsing into kill zones. Webb exhaled like he'd been punched. They studied us. And now they're adapting to us. Elena confirmed. An alarm chimed. Communications Officer Waled spoke sharply. Priority hail from Council Command. Put it through. Ambassador Threx appeared, cracks glimmering across his crystalline frame. We detected a massive FTL signature on the fringe of this sector. Threx began shakily. 30 minutes ago, our outer listening posts went silent. How many? Webb asked. Threx swallowed, light dimming. 10,000. A swarm fleet unlike anything we've cataloged. And it's coming straight here. The weight of those words pressed on every chest. Adams let out a breath filled with gallows humor. Well, if they want a rematch, who are we to say no? Elena gave her a look that said, not funny. Webb steadied himself. Panic helped no one. He spoke like steel being forged. Then we don't wait for them to come knocking. We take the fight to them. Admiral Chen's voice rose behind him. She had entered without anyone noticing. Captain Webb is right. We need to intercept the swarm before they reach civilian orbit, Threx protested. But your fleet is wounded. You just survived a terrible battle. Chen stared through him, uncompromising. We didn't survive. We endured. There's a difference. Her words were less a reassurance, and more a promise to the universe. Humanity doesn't break. Webb caught a flicker from Threx, something like awe. Mixed with fear, the call ended. Adams whistled low. 10,000 ships. Against our 100? An aim better? Webb answered. No one laughed. Hours later. The fleet repositioned near a small moon Corvin's outer defense line. Engineers sealed breaches. Marines patched armor. Medics worked with shaky hands and hopeful eyes in the armory. Sergeant Jackson Reeves ran diagnostics on a rail rifle nearly as tall as him. A young alien observer, a floating, translucent jelly-like form named Serin, hovered awkwardly near him. Fought them. Physically? Serin asked, voice musical and unsure. Reeves shrugged. If they get in your ship, might as well greet them at the door. The alien pulsed with confusion. But weren't you afraid? Reeves grinned like a wolf. Of course. Fear keeps you sharp. And someone up there must want me alive. I'm still here, right? The alien processed this quietly. Someone must want him alive. Faith was a strange new variable. On the bridge, Webb reviewed battle projections. None looked good. Adams nudged him gently. You look like you're carrying the planet on your back. I might be, he replied. She leaned closer, whispering, Look, every alien here is panicking. But us we fight, we pray, we curse, we keep going. That's what makes us who we are. The word pray echoed in Webb's mind. He had seen soldiers kiss dog tags before boarding dropships. Others touched their chest across, a memory, a hope. Some uttered promises to loved ones who had already passed. Humans rarely advertised belief, they just lived it. The calm before battle didn't feel calm. It felt like the universe inhaling, waiting to scream. Then sensors detected it, a tide of blackened metal erupting from warp. Thousands upon thousands of Ravager vessels. Their structure shifting. It's adapting now, sporting armored ridges shaped exactly to deflect railgun trajectories. Adams muttered. They copied us, Elena corrected her. They countered us. The tactical screen bloomed red. So many hostile signals it resembled an ocean of blood. Admiral Chen's final order crackled shipwide. All hands, prepare to engage. Every crew member locked into position, every Marine gripped. Weapon stocks until knuckles whitened. Every pilot whispered something to themselves, to loved ones, to the quiet beyond life. The swarm roared forward. Fire. Webb commanded. Railguns unleashed storms of tungsten death. Missiles streaked through the void like vengeful stars. Lasers from council ships lanced across the darkness, but the enemy absorbed it, twisting, splitting. Reforming their new tactics worked. They closed the distance. Faster, Webb's heart hammered. We need to force them into choke lanes. Elena shouted. Break their formation. Adams microspatial hops. Webb ordered. Make them chase us through tight clusters. On it. The Indomitable blinked across space in rapid bursts, short-range teleports so violent that council ships would crumble attempting them. The swarm followed. Hungry Webb felt the thrill and terror merge inside humans were doing what humans always do, making the impossible their battlefield. A sudden jolt, power dimmed. Waleed yelled, "Sir!" New signatures, huge ones, coming from subspace. Webb looked at the readings. Not Ravagers. Something far worse. A new breed. Colossal. Angular bone-like vessels, crowned with glowing cysts. Psychic shockwaves rippled outward like mental screams. The bridge crew staggered, clutching heads, blood trickling from noses. The swarm had evolved a command class. Alina gasped. They have a queen. Webb felt a cold certainty stab through him. No, he corrected. They have queens. He stared at the 3 titanic bioships, descending like gods of consumption. The last battle's victory had not humiliated the swarm. It had drawn their attention, and now the real war was here. On council comes. Terror surged. They're coming for the civilians. We must flee. We will be devoured. Webb slammed his fist onto the console. Hold the line. Redirect fire. But even his roar felt drowned out by the oncoming nightmare. Adams whispered shakily, "Marcus, what if we can't win this one?" He didn't look away from the enemy. If we were meant to die here, we wouldn't have made it this far. It wasn't bravado. It was belief in mankind, in purpose, in survival. Aboard the Command Queen. Somewhere inside that monstrous mass, a mind focused on one target alone, humanity. The Queen remembered pain. She wanted the species who caused it. She wanted Marcus Webb not to kill him. To consume him and take everything humans were with him. Her psychic roar burned across the stars. Remember the earth flesh? Remember the fire? The enemy didn't just want war, they wanted revenge. The Queens have entered the battle. Their target? Captain Webb. Their purpose? Consume humanity's greatest strength, their will to survive. The first Queen struck like a meteor. A surge of bioplasma crackled outward, ripping through the void in a spiral of purple-black light. 3 council frigates evaporated instantly, dissolving into clouds of molten debris. Brace. Webb shouted. The Indomitable lurched sideways as Adams flung the ship into a risky drift maneuver, scraping past a swarming cluster by mere meters. Sparks showered the bridge. The lights flickered, struggling to stabilize. Alina cursed under her breath. They've never used psychic weapons at range before. They're adapting faster than we can counter. A second psychic wave rippled out, not physical, but mental. Every crew member flinched, some crying out. Webb clutched the console as a jagged pain stabbed through his skull, like memories being forcefully rearranged. A Marine on a lower deck collapsed, screaming, "Get out of my head." Webb forced his voice steady. "They're trying to break our minds." "Ignore it." Waleed's fingers shook, but he kept working his panel. "Sir, one of the Queens is charging something." "Bigger," Adams muttered. "Oh, perfect. A bigger nightmare." Tactical screen displayed a mass of energy collecting deep in the Queen's cavity, a radiating dark sphere expanding with each second. Alina analyzed it fast. If that detonates within range, we'll be ripped apart at a molecular level. We need to take that Queen out, Webb agreed instantly. Focus fire on the central Queen. Railguns thundered. Missiles streaked like lightning. Council lasers converged into a blinding beam. The Queen simply restructured? Armor plates reshaped, redistributing force. Absorbing impact. Growing. Adams breathed one word. No. The Queen wasn't just shielding. She was learning from every hit. Alina looked at Webb, determination hardening her features. We can't beat them with brute force. We need the next move. Something completely unpredictable. Webb thought fast. Humans were unpredictable. That was their advantage. They didn't evolve under rules. They broke them. He saw a map flash in his mind, the asteroid field deeper in the system. Sharp, unstable rocks tumbling in tight chaos. Adams set a course to the Karsus debris field. Alina raised a brow. That sector is a navigational hazard. Realistically, death. Good, Webb replied. Let's see if they can keep up. Adams grinned. Wild. Yes, Captain. Humanity had a mantra when logic fails. Try crazy. The fleet pivoted, battered ships pushing their engines past operational limits. The swarm followed, shrieking with hunger and hate. The Karsus field loomed, floating mountains of iron and shattered. Planet crust spun in a dense labyrinth. Council observers watched from a distance, horrified. Those humans are insane. One alien gasped. Ambassador Threx shook his crystalline head, unable to look away. No, they're desperate. And desperation is their oldest weapon. Inside the field, the battle turned feral. Ravager ships crashed into asteroids, bursting into clouds of black gore. But humans used the chaos, weaving, sliding, dancing death around each rock. Reeves and his Marines repelled boarding pods, filling the corridors with the roar of shotguns. Waleed's console flared. Sir, the swarm isn't slowing down enough. Alina keyed commands fast. We need to force the queen ships into the densest cluster. Make the environment fight for us, Webb nodded. Adams, slingshot us around that supermass fragment. That one? The one rotating at lethal velocity? That one. Adams exhaled like she'd been waiting her whole life to be asked that question. Sir, the Indomitable veered hard, scraping so close the ship's hull left sparks trailing across asteroid stone. Crew were thrown sideways, metal groaned, but the maneuver succeeded. The queens followed, out of curiosity and arrogance. They believed strength alone could conquer terrain. Humans knew terrain kills the arrogant. Now, Webb yelled. Alina triggered a precision-fused missile. Volley not at the queens, at the asteroids above them. The explosion shattered thousands of tons of rock into a downward avalanche of destruction. Giant shards impaled the airless darkness, punching through queen, armor, and splitting bioships open like slaughterhouse carcasses. One queen shrieked, body convulsing, fluids spraying into space like frozen black rain. The psychic assault weakened. Waleed yelled triumphantly. Direct hit. One queen crippled. Adams whooped. Who's primitive now, you oversized snot beetles? The remaining two queens roared in psychic fury, waves of hatred crashing into every mind. Crews staggered, screams echoing down corridors. Webb's vision. Something clawed at his memories. Childhood images twisted, mother's face turning monstrous screams that weren't real. Fight it. He bit his tongue, tasted blood, and forced a single thought into clarity. Not today. Meanwhile, in a small observation alcove, Sterin, the jelly-like alien, watched Reeves reload calmly despite chaos. You humans, Siren whispered, voice trembling. You should be dead. Anyone else would be dead. Reeves smirked, chambering his rifle. Someone out there must like us. Saren's glow flickered with confusion. Someone. Like a god. Reeves paused, not mocking, just thoughtful. I don't know what to call it, but I've seen too much in war to think we survive on luck alone. Serene stared at him, absorbing an idea its species had never considered. Hope, back on the bridge. Admiral Chen appeared on a desperate channel. Captain Webb, the crippled queen, is trying to regenerate. Finish it. The order wasn't harsh. It was mercy for every world already devoured. Webb turned to Alina. Tactical. Let's make this permanent. With pleasure. The Indomitable aligned railgun barrels, targeting the exposed core of the queen's half-crushed body. Adams synced trajectory. Waleed reported. Target locked. Webb spoke, cold as execution. Fire. The railguns unleashed a metal tempest piercing the queen's heart. A psychic scream ripped across the galaxy. Then silence. The queen detonated in slow. Silent horror pieces drifting lil. Ill less as LY.1.2 to go. Exhaustion washed through the bridge. But Webb had no time to breathe, because the remaining queens weren't retreating. They accelerated faster, angrier, converging on the Indomitable. Adams shouted. They're targeting us directly. Alina added. They've learned you're the... Threat. Webb didn't deny it. He stood taller then. Let them come. His pulse thundered. A drum of survival and faith intertwined. Maybe there was a reason he was still standing. Maybe someone wanted him to keep. Standing, the two queens synchronized their psychic energies light, bending around them like black suns about to collapse into. Wrath, every instinct screamed. You were prey. But Webb wasn't prey. He came from Earth where prey grows fangs. He gripped the command rail and growled. We hold here. The stars seemed to flicker as though the universe itself trembled. The queens charged. The Indomitable turned toward them. Every crew member braced for the impossible. This was no longer a battle. This was a reckoning. Two queens remain. Stronger and now focused entirely on humanity. Captain Webb prepares to face a threat designed to destroy his very soul. The bridge of the Indomitable felt like the inside of a heart under strain, pounding, tense, desperate to keep beating even as knives pressed against it. The remaining Ravager queens surged forward with terrifying acceleration. Their psychic energy pulsed so violently that space itself rippled, like the universe refusing to hold their shape. Captain Marcus Webb steadied himself, hands gripping the command rail until his knuckles turned white. The thought that repeated through his mind wasn't fear, it was responsibility. Every human ship, every alien civilian behind their line, every frightened council world. They were all counting on him, Adams. Webb said, voice firm. Keep us moving. Make them work for every inch. You got it, she replied, already forcing the ship into brutal micro-maneuvers that would have shredded any vessel not born from a Deathworld's engineering. Alina Clark was a blur, firing commands through tactical channels faster than most species could think. Waleed kept the comms alive through static and psychic distortion, refusing to let panic break the network. Every crew member was doing the impossible. Because Webb asked it, because someone had to. A mental shockwave blasted across the fleet, like invisible spears stabbing through skulls. Engineers screamed. Pilots bled from their noses. Reeves slammed his helmet against the bulkhead as his vision doubled. Ravager voices screeching inside his head. Feed. Consume human biorec. Own consciousness flickered. Images not his own flashed behind his eyes. Worlds dying in silence. Cities collapsing under the swarm's poison. Species screaming prayers that turned to ash. He refused to be a spectator, too. Annihilation. He forced his focus outward. Status report. Alina wiped blood from her brow. The queens are targeting our neural pathways. They're trying to disrupt command thinking, destabilize leadership, so they came for the head of the spear. Webb muttered. Adams attempted to lighten the tone, but even she sounded shaken. Guess we're famous now. Council dreadnought exploded in the distance, a silent blossom of light. Dozens more ships ignited seconds later, each life lost a spark smothered into darkness. The tactical display drowned in red. Human reinforcements were already stretched thin. Ammunition dwindled. Armor cracked. Holes glowed from overheating, and the queens weren't slowing. They're predicting our movements? Adams realized. Their trajectory changes match our last three predictions. Elena's eyes widened. They're learning from our decisions in real time. Webb clenched his jaw. Strategy was becoming obsolete with every second. Then he noticed something. A pattern. Whenever the queens shifted tactics, the swarm reacted exactly the same way afterward. Perfectly synchronized. A hive mind. But not just that. A chain of command. The queens issued commands. The swarm responded. If command broke, the mind broke. Take out the queens. Webb murmured, and the swarm collapses into chaos. Lena nodded slowly. Understanding dawning, and chaos means vulnerability. A new alarm screamed through the ship. Waleed's voice trembled. They're charging another psychic pulse, far bigger than before. Adams swallowed. What happens if that thing hits us? Alina answered grimly. We die. Everyone dies. Our brains will melt before we can even scream. Silence fell, thick and suffocating. This was it. The edge where fear becomes surrender, or sharpens into resolve. Webb made his choice. All remaining vessels, focus fire on the lead queen. Chen's voice cut across the channel. Webb, that'll expose your ship. The other queen will have a clear shot at you. I know, he replied. But if we don't end this now, there won't be a later. Pause. Then Chen spoke with the voice of someone placing trust where it mattered most. Good hunting. Captain, railguns thundered again. What rounds remained launched at supersonic speeds? Missiles streaked. Council beams converged. Every weapon humanity had left screamed into the void. The lead queen twisted armor, rearranging into an uncanny shield. The barrage struck, ripping chunks of flesh away. But not enough. The queen fired her psychic blast. The universe fell silent. Webb shouted, brace. A wave of nightmares slammed through the Indomitable, the crew bending. Breaking minds assaulted by visions of their own deaths. Webb felt his consciousness, slipping, drowning in terror, but through the storm of pain. A single memory surfaced, his father on a fishing pier as the sun broke the horizon, pointing upward at the sky and whispering, "Look at that. Too beautiful to be an accident. Someone wanted us here." That memory became his anchor. He forced a breath, forced his mind to stay whole, and roared into the chaos. "We are human. We don't break." His voice cut through the psychic storm, steady, defiant. Adams gasped as clarity returned to her eyes. Elena regained tactical control and screamed, firing railguns. While Lead wiped tears he didn't remember shedding and steadied the cum array. Webb pulled them back from oblivion by sheer will. Maybe there was someone helping. The blast dissipated. Weakened, one queen faltered. Webb saw the opportunity. Elena, all guns. Aim for that exposed cavity. She locked in coordinates. Fire. The remaining warheads slammed into the queen's heart, exploding through bone and flesh. Energy surged outward. The queen convulsed, her psychic scream shrieking into every mind. Then merciful silence. Second queen destroyed. Adams exhaled shakily. One more to go. But her relief died the moment Waleed shouted, "Captain, the last queen is retreating toward the council capital." Elena's voice cracked. "She's not running. She's going for the civilians." Webb's blood turned cold. "No, she's going for their hive. A queen unchecked could spawn millions. Enough to drown the galaxy." He turned toward the screen, toward the remaining queen's silhouette streaking toward Zenith Prime. Adams raised a brow. "You thinking what I'm thinking?" Webb nodded once. "We chase her." Lena blinked. "Marcus, she's faster than us. Then we get faster." He stepped forward, shoulders squared like a man who refused to let fate dictate anything. "Signal the fleet. If we don't stop her now, there won't be anything left to save." Waleed relayed the message. Reeves in the lower decks slammed a fresh magazine home. Chen's eyes hardened through the cum. "Do what you have to. Humanity will be right behind you." As the Indomitable surged ahead, chasing a nightmare across stars, Webb found himself staring at the galaxy, endless, alive, breathtaking. He whispered to the quiet beyond, "If you're still watching, now would be a good time." He didn't demand a miracle, he just didn't want to fight alone. The final queen flees toward the council capital to spawn a new swarm. The Indomitable pursues, racing against extinction itself. The Indomitable tore through space like a wounded predator refusing to die. Hull plating, fractured. Rear thrusters, overheating. Weapons, running close to empty. Crew, beyond exhaustion. But their enemy, the last Ravager queen, was accelerating toward Zenith Prime, where billions of alien civilians waited, unaware that extinction was screaming toward them. On the bridge, alarms flashed a constant, angry red. Adams gripped the helm so tightly her knuckles threatened to tear skin. She's widening the distance. If she reaches the atmosphere, Webb didn't let her finish, she won't. Adams glanced at him, not doubting, but marveling. The man refused to let the universe define limits. "Elena, Clark scanned the tactical feeds. The Queen's psychic field is intensifying. If she gets close enough to the capital, she could broadcast a mass terror wave. The population will tear itself apart before she even lands. Waleed swallowed, hands trembling over his console. Sir, we might lose the council while trying to save it. Stared ahead at the monstrous vessel looming like a dark moon, hunger and hatred given. Shape. That's why we don't. Give her the chance. Sergeant Reeves marched down the corridor with his squad boots thundering despite the ship's flickering gravity. Marines pressed fresh magazines into their rifles, sweat mixing with grime and blood. They'd fought boarding parties nonstop, their armor carved with claw marks, say -RIN. The jelly-like alien observer floated close behind. Bioluminescent pulsations jittery with fear. You are pushing your bodies past safe functioning limits, Siren warned, voice wavering. Humans are fragile organisms, you should collapse, Reeves snorted. Been collapsing since birth. Still here? Siren blinked literally, a ripple across its surface. But how do you cope with terror? With hopelessness? Reeves placed a massive hand on the alien's slushy form, surprising gentleness. If you're still breathing, there's hope. Someone wants you alive. Saren floated silently, considering someone as more than a metaphor. Back on the bridge, something shifted in the tactical readout. Waleed stiffened. Sir, the Queen is changing course. She's diving. Elena's eyes widened. She's entering the planet's upper atmosphere. Webb leaned forward, heart hammering. Why risk the heat? Elena analyzed readings faster than thought. She's using the atmosphere as a shield, making orbital targeting almost impossible. Council defenses won't risk firing on their own capital, Adams muttered. Smart bug. Webb felt the weight of every moment condensing into a single need. Catch her. He hit the command channel. All ships with me. We follow her into atmosphere. A council officer's panicked voice snapped through. Human captain. If you descend, your ships will burn. Webb answered without hesitation. If that's the cost, then we burn, without waiting for approval. He gave the order, Adams, take us down. I hope this isn't the last stupid thing I do. The ship angled toward the planet, heat blooming across. The hull as flames licked the metal skin. Re-entry was never gentle. The Indomitable shuddered violently. Bolts ripped from walls. Panels burst. Sparks exploded like angry stars. A junior officer clung to his chair, eyes wide. We can't make it. Webb growled over the roar. You keep saying we can't, but here we are. The ship punched through the atmosphere, fire trailing behind them like the tail of a falling angel. Aircraft sirens flashed across Zenith Prime. Civilians screamed, assuming death was falling from the sky. But death wasn't coming for them. Death was chasing death. The Queen streaked, had a colossal shadow slicing through clouds. Psychic energy crackling around her like storm lightning. Elena studied the readings. She's weakening. Atmospheric pressure is crushing her carapace. That species was never meant to fly inside gravity wells. Then we finish this here, Webb replied, because a cornered monster makes mistakes. The Queen suddenly pivoted, spinning backward in a tight arc no sane pilot would attempt. Her biocannons pulsed with energy, and she fired. The beam tore into the Indomitable, slicing along the hull like a surgeon's knife. Crew were thrown from stations. Bulkheads imploded. Fire erupted everywhere. Waleed slammed into the floor, breath knocked out. Adams cursed as controls sparked under her hands. Elena struggled to regain lock. She's targeting our flight controls. Webb shoved himself upright, voice fierce. She wants us to fall? She thinks we fear gravity. He stared out through the cracked viewport at the continent beneath them, shining cities. Alien life going about unaware of the terror descending upon them. Webb whispered under his breath, Someone, help us keep them safe. He didn't know if anyone was listening, but he hoped below. The council capital glimmered like a crown, towering spires of crystal and light. Elena's voice shook. If she lands, the swarm begins. Reeves called over comes from the armory. We have movement. She's launching boarding pods again. Webb's blood ran colder than vacuum even now. She was evolving tactics to divide the defenders, consume from within. Adams cursed loudly. We can't fight her and defend our own ship. Yes, we can, Webb replied. Because surrender was not in humanity's vocabulary, eh? Proximity alarm blared, piercing and urgent. Waleed shouted, Captain, new objects in orbit. Council reinforcements. Webb blinked, stunned. The once terrified Council fleet had turned back. Maybe humanity's defiance had infected. Maybe they found courage in the shadow of Earth's. Madness. Adams grinned through. Pain. Looks like the galaxy finally grew a spine. Elena tapped Webb's shoulder, pointing there. The Queen's core is exposed. Short window. We hit that, she's done. Webb nodded, calm in the inferno. Adams. Get me close. She wiped tears from her eyes. Tears from pain or fear or sheer determination. Yes, sir. The ship dove, skimming rooftops, sending shockwaves through plazas below. Citizens looked up as two monstrous shapes fought overhead, one defending them, one dooming them. Siren, watching from a lower viewport, whispered in awe, They protect strangers. Why? There is no benefit. Reeves answered, Because life matters. Yours, mine, everyone's. Nobody gets left behind if humans can help it. Siren asked quietly. And the hope you speak of, is that why you fight? Reeves nodded once. Yeah. Because I think someone wanted us here. To stand between darkness and the helpless. Saren's bioluminescence glowed bright, the idea transforming into belief. Half a kilometer behind the Queen, Elena shouted, We're in range. Adams yelled, Shot only stays clean for 3 seconds. Waleed counted. 3. Elena armed the last railgun volley. 2. Webb closed his eyes for a heartbeat. Let this work. 1. Fire. The Indomitable unleashed the final. Barrage tungsten slugs screaming through superheated air, drilling into the Queen's exposed core. The monstrosity convulsed, psychic. Agony erupting like a star. Collapsing then, silence. Huge, terrible, breathtaking silence. The Queen plummeted, crashing into the uninhabited plains. Outside the capital, carving a crater of dust in defeat, the swarm went still. Every Ravager ship froze in formation. As if a single mind had lost its heartbeat, Waleed whispered, voice cracking. There. Disconnected, confused. Lena exhaled. Shaking. We did it. Adams slumped into her chair, breathless. We actually did it. Webb didn't celebrate yet. He stared at the massive corpse below, still smoking, still twitching. It's not over, he said quietly. Not until we confirm the Queens are dead, 'cause a monster like that didn't die easy. Still, for the first time, the galaxy had hope. The Queen has fallen, but Ravagers are never truly beaten unless their heart is destroyed, and something in the crater is still moving. The dust cloud from the Queen's impact was still rising into the sky. When the Indomitable's deck lurched sideways with a violent crack, sparks showered from the ceiling. The air smelled like burning circuitry and panic. Structural integrity down to 38%. Waleed shouted, voice breaking. Adams fought the failing controls. We're losing altitude. Webb grabbed the rail to stay upright. His eyes locked on the crater outside the viewport. The Queen's gigantic corpse sprawled across the alien plains, but then it twitched. Elena's voice strained. Sir, I'm reading biotic movement from the target. Significant movement. Reeves cut in, overcomes. Captain, whatever that thing is doing down there, it's not dying. The Ravager Queen, broken, bleeding, crushed by re-entry, was rising, not fast, but enough to turn victory into an illusion. Waleed's face went pale. Sir, she's regenerating. No, Webb breathed. Not now. Not here. It's in the capital city beneath them. Millions of aliens stared upward, unaware how close their end still hovered. Adams slammed her fist into the console. We're crashing if I can't get more power. Webb knew what needed to happen long before he wanted to accept it. We have to land. Adams stared at him. Land. Captain, This thing isn't a ship anymore. It's a controlled explosion with seats. This ship still flies, Webb answered, voice like steel, as long as we're on it. Adams gritted her teeth and obeyed. The shattered indomitable. Descended smoke trailing a battered shield falling back to protect those beneath it. Below, emergency sirens wailed as Council military scrambled. High Commander Zix watched the flaming arc streak closer. They are attempting a landing, Zix muttered, confused. Why descend into danger? Dr. Ara answered softly, because someone has to stand between death and the innocent. The humans believe that is their purpose. Zix stared at the burning dreadnought. What kind of beings choose sacrifice over survival? Ara pulsed faintly, perhaps those who believe they were made to protect others. The Indomitable slammed into the plains like a wounded comet, metal screaming as it tore a trench across the soil. Bulkheads buckled. Chairs tore free. Crew members tumbled like rag dolls. Reeves shielded Saren with his own armor, roaring as debris smashed into his back. In engineering, a support beam collapsed. A young technician cried out beneath it. Waleed ran to her, adrenaline overriding fear, and shoved with both hands. The beam didn't budge. He wasn't strong enough. Come on, he grunted, eyes stinging. Not like this. Please, not like this. He closed his eyes and pushed again. The beam lifted just enough for the girl to crawl free. He had no idea where the strength came from. Maybe someone heard him. The crash skidded to a stop. Silence. Heavy. Terrible then. We're alive. Adams whispered, shocked. Webb exhaled shakily. Status. Elena scanned the crew. Bridge stable. Crew alive but hurt. We're on the ground. And the Queen? She pointed outside. The monstrous shape in the crater now slowly rising. It's glowing sickly green as regeneration consumed broken flesh. She's healing faster, Elena warned. She's drawing energy from the planet or the population. Saren spoke over comes from the lower deck. They absorb fear, panic. Our terror makes them stronger. Reeves growled. Then we stop being afraid. Webb looked around the bridge, bruised. Bleeding but standing crew. Humans with trembling hands but steady eyes. Everyone who can fight. Gear up, Webb ordered. We finish this on the ground. Lena hesitated. Sir, if we go down there, we won't have ship firepower to help us. I know. Adams frowned. And if she gets inside the city, she won't, Webb said. Because we stop her here. A moment of quiet followed, filled with fear. And faith? Waleed finally asked. Captain, what if we don't come back? Webb placed a hand on his shoulder. Then we'll die doing what someone put us here to do. Not a sermon. Not religion. Just belief that their existence had purpose, Saren whispered over comes. Humans are so strange. You trust in intention? Reeves chuckled despite cracked ribs. It's kept us alive this long. Armored bay doors thudded open. Human marines, scorched and weary, filed out with weapons ready. Reeves limped at point, Aaron floating close behind. Alien soldiers joined them. No longer afraid, Zix approached Webb, mandibles quivering. Captain, do you truly intend to fight a queen on foot? Yes, Webb answered. Cix bowed, a gesture of humility. Then Council's warriors stand with you. Whatever you are, however dangerous, you are the reason we still live. We follow you. Adams smirked. Captain Deathworld just got promoted to Captain Galaxy. Ignored the comment, focusing on the Queen. Towering horror dragged itself. From the crater, broken wings dangling, limbs reforming. It shrieked, a psychic howl that rattled bones and hearts. Civilian crowds dropped to their knees. Children cried. Adults backed away in paralyzing dread. Webb shouted, Shield the civilians! Keep her away from the city! Human and alien soldiers formed a line, weapons raised. A wall of flesh and metal. The Queen stared down at them, her voice slithered into their minds. Little hunters. Little prey. You cannot stop hunger, Reeves spat in the dirt. Come get fed then, the Queen charged, and humanity charged back. Battle erupted. Railgun fire cracked the air. Alien energy blasts scorched flesh. Explosives turned soil into fire. Marines dove, rolled, screamed plans and prayers. The Queen smashed a squad aside with one massive limb armor twisting like foil. Reeves tackled the creature's leg, firing point-blank into exposed muscle. Alina launched a rocket. It struck the Queen's chest. Acid blood sprayed. Sizzling on the ground, but missing troops, Adam sprinted to drag a wounded alien to cover, collapsing into the grass, laughing breathlessly. "This is insane." "Welcome to humans," Reeves grunted, while elbow-deep in monster. The Queen shrieked, psychic shockwaves slamming into minds. Waleed fell to his knees, head splitting with terror, voices whispering inside. "You will die afraid. Everyone dies afraid." Sphairon wrapped its tentacles around Waleed, shielding him with empathetic calming waves. "Not afraid," Saren said firmly. "Not him." The Queen reeled, confused, haunted by something unfamiliar. Protection, unity, hope. Webb sprinted toward the regenerating core, heart glowing through damaged armor. He shouted, "All fire on the core. Bring her down." Everyone focused their weapons. A torrent of bullets, plasma, and determination slammed into the Queen. She screamed, the sound shaking the heavens. Her movement slowed. Webb saw it. The opening. He leaped, driving a combat blade deep into the core. The Queen convulsed violently, claws hammering him, tearing armor, drawing blood. He held on, refusing to let go, refusing to let the galaxy fall. Adams yelled his name. Reeves fired wildly to protect him. The Queen howled one last time, a sound of pure rage. Then her core collapsed. Light burst outward, green and blinding, and a colossal shadow fell. When the brightness faded, the Queen lay still, fully still, finally dead. Webb slumped onto the ground, chest heaving, vision blurry. Adams reached him first, grabbing his arm, checking if he was real. Reeves knelt beside him, helmet cracked, blood dripping. "You did it," he said, voice cracking. "You crazy, stubborn Deathworld idiot, you did it." Webb smiled weakly. "No, we did it." Saren floated closer, studying the silent corpse. "It is over?" Webb looked at the sky where council ships and human vessels hovered together. For now, he didn't add the thought clawing in his chest. Ravagers don't stop. They learn. He gazed toward the heavens, stars sharp and brilliant, and whispered, "We weren't meant to run. Someone put us here to stand." The Queen's body is dead. But deep within the planet's crust, ancient signals awaken. Something even older than the swarm has heard the fight, and is coming. For the first time since humanity arrived in this galaxy, there was quiet, a silence earned in blood. The Ravager Queen's corpse stretched across the plains, motionless, cracked, steaming in the cool night air. The civilians who, moments earlier, had screamed and stampeded were now staring in stunned disbelief. They were alive. Thanks to humans, soldiers from a dozen species stood shoulder to shoulder. Panting, bleeding, shaking from adrenaline, Webb's Marines leaned on their rifles, exhausted but unbroken. Reeves wiped acid blood from his visor with a shaky laugh. "I could sleep a year," he muttered. Saren pulsed beside him. "You will rest," the alien insisted. "After medical scans, humans keep moving even when damaged. It is alarming." Reeves gave the floating jelly a lopsided grin. "That's the polite way to call us stubborn." Serene blinked faintly, absorbing the phrase. "Stubborn," it repeated thoughtfully. "A survival advantage from a death world." Webb heard them, but didn't join the moment of levity. His eyes remained fixed on the Queen's remains, searching for any sign of movement. He would not be tricked by hope, not again. Alina limped to his side, blood running down her right leg. "We need to get you checked out," she insisted. "Later," Webb said. Her jaw tightened. She knew arguing was pointless. Behind them, Adams climbed atop a chunk of shattered plating, scanning the battlefield. "Captain," she called out, voice still hoarse. "Council med teams inbound, and crowds, a lot of crowds." Webb turned. Waves of civilians were approaching slow at first, then faster, like courage was spreading through them. Entire families. Children, elders, all walking toward the humans who had saved them. Zix stood at the front of the council militia, mandibles lifted high, and what Webb had come to understand was reverence. "Hail the defenders from the Deathworld," Zix cried out. An eruption of cheers followed Dalian voices. Mixing into one thunderous sound, it should have felt like victory. But Webb's gut churned like a storm. He whispered to Alina, "This was just a queen. She wasn't the end." Alina nodded grimly. No, she was the warning. Med teams rushed the injured. Elite helped transport wounded Marines, trying to ignore the numbness creeping up his limbs. Radiation sickness had begun to make itself known. He shoved dizziness aside. Not now. Please, not now. He spotted Webb still standing at the edge of the crater, like he expected the monster to rise again. "Sir," Elite asked carefully. "We won." Webb glanced at him, eyes distant. "Do you hear that?" Waleed listened. Nothing but wind. "What exactly am I listening for?" "Signals," Webb muttered. "Commands. A hive this large. Losing its queen should create total collapse. They shouldn't be retreating. They should be swarming us in blind panic." Lena approached again, rubbing her temples. "I analyzed transmissions during the fight. There was something coming from deeper beneath the planet's crust. Low frequency. Ancient. And when the queen died, the signal didn't stop. It got stronger." Waleed frowned. "You're saying something else is controlling them?" Lena shook her head. "No. Something is awakening them." Above the battlefield, the night sky flickered with distant energy distortions. At first, just a shimmer-like heat above desert sand. Then shapes formed, dark geometric silhouettes blocking starlight. Council soldiers noticed and panicked. More Ravagers. Reeves raised his rifle, groaning. "Oh, come on, I just sat down." But Adams stared carefully. No movement, no signatures. They looked like structures. Webb grabbed binoculars and focused. Monoliths. Massive hexagonal towers. Levitating in low orbit. Silent. Watching. Elena's voice was barely breath. Those weren't there before. Saren shivered, skin dimming. "I have seen such things in ancient records." Forbidden records. Webb lowered the binoculars. "You know what they are?" Saren hesitated, fear rippling across its translucent form. "They are not Ravager. They are older." "Older than what?" Reeves asked. "Alina, translate," Webb ordered. Alina swallowed. "Older than memory." Emergency communication flared from Zenith Prime Command. "Admiral Chen to all ground forces. The swarm is retreating, but unknown structures have appeared in orbit. We need a tactical analysis immediately." Adams made a face. "I hate those words together." Webb activated his comm, Chen. "This is Webb. We see the same structures down here. Any contact?" She asked. "None." "They're just observing." Shen exhaled hard. "The Council believes these are Ravager command spires." "We need to prepare for another engagement," Negative Webb interrupted. "Those aren't Ravagers." A long pause. "Explain." Webb stared at the hovering monoliths as cold certainty settled inside him. "The swarm is an army. Armies are built, controlled, deployed." Alina finished the thought, "which means someone made the Ravagers. That someone," Webb said, "is finally paying attention." The queen's carcass suddenly convulsed, jerking like a puppet on invisible strings. Gasps erupted from every direction. A shard of chitin cracked away, revealing a sphere of black metal embedded deep within her chest. It pulsed once, then exploded into a cloud of nanite, dust that shot straight upward toward the monoliths. Alina stared in horror. "Oh no, they're collecting data from her death, adapting." Reeves cursed loudly. "We just taught them how to kill us." Saren recoiled. "We must destroy the monoliths before they gain complete knowledge." Adams glared. "With what?" "Half our fleet is scrap and the other half is coughing blood." Chen spoke again through comms. "All ships, hold position. Do not fire unless fired upon." Reeves scowled. "That's a terrible idea." Webb said quietly. "It's the only one. We don't start a war with something we don't understand." Elena's voice trembled. "Captain?" What if they're not here to start a war? Webb looked at her sharply. She continued, what if the Ravagers were running from something worse? Silence smothered them. That idea was too horrifying to dismiss. Waleed shivered. We need answers. Fast. Saren suddenly surged with panic. I have seen these shapes, in prophecies, in sacred archives. They speak of builders' beings who seeded this galaxy and vanished before recorded history. Reeves blinked. You saying giant space gods made the Ravagers? Saren drifted closer to the Queen's remains. Not gods. Engineers. They believed life must evolve through struggle. Through death, they made the Ravagers as the test. Webb's fist clenched. A test for what? For worthiness, Saren whispered. Only the species able to destroy the swarm would be invited. Lena finished the sentence with dread. Invited where? Saren answered with a single trembling word. Ascension. Webb stared at the monoliths, feeling the weight of realization crush down. They came to see who killed their creations. Reeves groaned. We just passed a cosmic job interview. The job, Webb said grimly, might be war. The monoliths rotated in unison, aligning toward the battlefield. Light pierced the clouds thin, and sharp hand swept across the Queen's carcass. Across the soldiers, across Webb, scanning them, measuring them, judging them. Waleed flinched. They're choosing. Webb's voice lowered to a battlefield whisper. We need to assume this is first contact. Not peaceful, not hostile. Just cold. Alina exhaled shakily. What do we tell Admiral Chen? Webb stared up at the unblinking structures. Tell her, his throat tightened. Tell her it's not over. The light froze on Webb's chest. The beam intensified. His skin burned beneath armor. Adams grabbed his shoulder. Captain, Webb gasped. Ban vanished. The light blinked out. Webb was gone, and the monoliths were turning their focus toward Earth. Captain Webb has been taken. A new power is measuring humanity, and Earth may be their next target. The world dissolved into light. Captain Marcus Webb felt his body stretch, tear and reassemble in a place that wasn't space, wasn't ground, wasn't anywhere that obeyed the rules he knew. There was no up, no down, no air, no noise. Just an endless black expanse. In a faint glow beneath his boots, he blinked. There was ground now, floor smooth as obsidian, stretching infinitely in all directions. The sky, if it could be called that, churned with constellations that shifted like living equations. He wasn't dead, but reality felt wrong. Captain Marcus Webb, a voice spoke not in his ears, but inside his skull, cold, measuring. Webb turned, hands instinctively reaching for a sidearm he no longer had. Before him stood a figure humanoid in silhouette, but sculpted from black metal and moving shadows. It had no face, only a shifting pattern of white lines that mimicked expressions without emotion. Who are you? Webb demanded. The being didn't move. We are the architects. Webb laughed once harshly. So, you built the Ravagers. We constructed many species, the voice replied. The Ravagers were a solution? To what? Webb spat. Galactic peace by genocide? Peace requires strength, the architect answered. Weak species perish. Only the worthy evolve. Webb took a step forward. You think slaughter's evolution? The Ravager swarm was designed to perfect the galaxy, the being explained. They eliminate the unfit. They forge unity through hardship. Webb's jaw tightened. You released monsters, then waited to see who survived. Yes, that makes you the worst monsters of all. The architect didn't react. We have come to evaluate your kind. Humans were unforeseen. Webb's chest tightened with anger. Unforeseen? You scan every atom of existence and somehow missed a death world full of violent apes? Humanity evolved in secrecy, the being said. On a world outside intended parameters. You are an anomaly. Webb barked a humorless laugh. We call it Earth. We call it home. The being corrected. We call it error. The temperature, or whatever passed, for it here dropped. You were not meant to exist. Webb felt something primal coil inside him, and yet, here we are. The architect's shape flickered, and, "You destroyed one of our queens?" Webb stepped close, fear replaced by fury. She was killing billions. She was completing her function. Quiet but fierce, we protect the innocent. Always. The architect paused, observing him with cold fascination. Your morality is irrational? You risk destruction to save strangers. You embrace death rather than submission. You are dangerous, Webb glared back. We're only dangerous if you threaten what matters. The architect shifted, suddenly towering over him like a skyscraper. You misunderstand. Marcus Webb, this evaluation is not of your victory. Its voice grew colder. It is of your allegiance. Webb's stomach sank. Allegiance to the architects, the voice said. Join us. Lead the perfected galaxy. Your species will inherit dominion. You will never fear extinction again. Webb stared. You want us to serve you? You will serve through leadership, the architect said. We will remake the galaxy together, the rest of the species. Webb asked quietly. The ones you deem unworthy? They will be eliminated, efficiently. Webb's fists clenched until his nails cut skin. You want genocide? He whispered. And you want us to help you do it. The being tilted its head. You hesitate. Why? Webb took a slow breath, remembering Zenith Prime. The terrified civilians watching monsters descend. The unity he'd seen in desperation, because life matters. All of it. The architect rippled, displeased. Life is wasteful. Only the chosen deserve existence. Webb's voice steadied with conviction. We don't get to decide who deserves to live. I believe someone greater than us gave life purpose. You're just thieves trying to steal that role. The architect froze. Faith, it said, examining him like a specimen under glass. You think you were intended. Webb nodded. Absolutely. The being leaned close, shadow face inches from his. If you refuse, your world will be corrected. Earth will be first to fall. Webb stared right back. Then you'd better pray we don't get back home. Silence. The architect straightened. You are bold, it said. And illogical. You call it courage. Webb replied. The architect's form fractured into a dozen identical silhouettes, circling Webb like wolves. We require your answer. Webb took a deep breath, feeling the memory of his crew behind him. The weight of every species counting on humanity. You already have it. The architect spoke as one. So be it.
Ow.
They dissolved into darkness, leaving Webb alone in the void till the floor beneath him vanished. He fell, gasping. He hit hard ground. The sky above was no longer shifting equations. It was a familiar dome of stars. His body ached like it had been crushed and pulled, apart at once. He was back on the plains. His crew surrounded him instantly. Captain. Adams skidded beside him, nearly crying. We didn't know. Webb coughed once and forced a smile. I told you. Not getting rid of me that easily? Reeves knelt and slapped his shoulder too hard. You scared the hell out of us, sir. Serin floated close, tentacles trembling. You saw them, it said. The ones who made the swarm. Webb nodded grimly. And they're not done. He forced himself to stand, bracing against Reeves. Alina held up a trembling scanner. Captain, the monoliths are repositioning. The sky rippled. Every monolith turned in perfect synchronization toward Earth, while Lead whispered, Oh God. Webb looked upward, heart turning to stone. They're coming for our home. Humanity has been judged. The architects have set their eyes on Earth, and Webb must rally a galaxy before his home becomes the first sacrifice. Panic spread through Zenith Prime like electricity. Sirens blared. Civilians stampeded in every direction. Council soldiers stared upward at the silent monoliths hovering like obsidian blades aimed at their throats. High Commander Zix watched in horror. They are preparing an assault, he whispered. What do we do? Webb steadied his breathing. His muscles screamed from the pain of whatever the architects did to him. But the greater pain was in his chest. They were coming for Earth, his home. Alina gripped his arm. Grounding him, sir. Orders. Webb turned toward Admiral Chen's distant command center. There was no time. Every second wasted was a heartbeat lost. We regroup with the Admiral, Webb said. Now Adams offered her shoulder, helping him limp forward. Captain, what did they do to you? Webb shook his head. It's not about what they did. It's about what they want to do, and that is... He met her eyes. Erase anything weak. Starting with us. Inside Zenith Prime's fortified command hub, frantic voices overlapped. Holographic projections showed the shapes above monoliths adjusting position in a precise formation. Chen stood at the center, posture solid despite tension in every muscle. When she saw Webb enter, relief flashed across her face before discipline swallowed it. Captain, she said sharply. Report. Webb approached the table, everyone falling silent. These are the architects, he began. They created the Ravagers as a test. To call species they consider unworthy, we passed their test. Zix stepped closer. And what does that mean? Webb's expression hardened. It means they want humanity to join them. To lead a perfected galaxy, Chen frowned. And if we refuse? Webb looked up at the monoliths through the tower's glass roof. They destroy Earth first, then everyone else. A cold dread gripped every heart in the room. They gave me a choice, Webb added. And? Chen asked. Waleed scoffed with a shaky laugh. You really have to ask. Webb didn't break eye contact. I told them we will never serve. No applause followed. No proud cheers, just fear. But also resolve. Dr. Ara floated closer. Agitation swirling through her gaseous form. We must warn all council worlds, she urged. Evacuations, defenses. Chen shook her head sharply. We can't outrun monoliths that move through the void. We stand, or we fall. Lena tapped a disk bring up a new scan. The architects are scanning council space, searching for weaknesses. Saren glowed faint violet. They seek to quantify existence, to determine who deserves to rise with them. Reeves spat on the floor. Well, they can shove that plan straight up there, Sergeant. Chen cut in. Control. Reeves lifted his hands. I'm just saying. If they want to measure us, let's give them a bad ruler. Us. Webb exhaled slowly. We need to rally every fleet. Council, uncontacted worlds, anyone with a ship or a pulse. Zix turned toward the rest of the council representatives. You heard him? We send the call to every species from the core to the outer void. A dozen delegates hesitated. One reptilian representative stepped forward, but aligning ourselves with humanity means becoming a warrior civilization. That is not who we are. Then you'll die as who you are, Webb said bluntly. Your choice. The chamber fell silent until that same. Representative eyes wide with fear gave a stiff nod. We choose to. Live. Alarms flared red again. Alina cursed. Monoliths are charging something energy spikes off the charts. The entire building trembled. A thin, needle-like beam shot from the lead monolith straight into the Queen's corpse. The ground cracked. The air thrummed with an unnatural pulse. Siren screamed. Its bioluminescence, violent and sharp. Almas. The Queen's corpse. Her DNA? They are learning from her death. Reeves groaned. Fantastic. They're upgrading. Adam's tone dropped to a terrified whisper. What if the Ravagers were just the starter version? Webb clenched his fists. We don't let them finish downloading. Chen gave the order. Form a battle plan immediately. As officers scrambled, Webb drifted away from the table. He stood at the panoramic window staring up at the structures waiting patiently. As if judging their prey, his chest tightened. Earth. His parents in Karachi. His little sister teaching kids mathematics in London. The oceans and deserts and forests and skyscrapers. People laughing, praying, arguing, loving. Someone had entrusted humans with that miracle. Someone greater than the architects, he whispered softly. You didn't bring us here just to die. Alina stepped beside him quiet. You think someone has a plan? I have too, Webb whispered. Or what are we fighting for? Alina looked away quickly, pretending something in the console needed urgent inspection. She didn't want him to see what flashed across her face. Not fear. Something more dangerous. Hope. Waleed suddenly doubled over hands, clutching his skull. Elena, help. She rushed to him, but he wasn't physically injured. Visions crashed through his mind, images of Earth on fire, oceans evaporating, cities collapsing. Monoliths drifting like vultures over a dead planet. His voice came out as a rasp. They showed him what they'll do. They're showing me now. Reeves grabbed his shoulders, shouting, "Stay with us. Don't you dare leave yet." But Waleed's pulse was erratic. Sarin pressed its tentacles against his temples, sending calming neural impulses. His mind touched theirs. Sarin breathed. He saw the future they intend. Waleed's eyes rolled open, glazed with terror. They call Earth the anomaly. Tear slid down. They want to erase the mistake. Chen grabbed Webb's arm urgently. "We need to make a decision now." "Captain?" Webb blinked, tree focusing. He placed a hand on the battle table and spoke, loud enough for every leader to hear. "We stop waiting to be saved. We defend our right to exist. We rally every system, every soldier, every ship." Chen nodded, agreed. "But it won't be enough." Webb wasn't finished. "And then we take the fight to them." Gasps swept the room. "Into the void." Zik stammered. Adam smiled despite everything. "Love a good suicide plan." Webb's gaze never wavered. "Humanity isn't a mistake. We're a message. We survived a world that tried to kill us every day. We stand for those who can't. That's our purpose." He looked upward. "You want a war?" His voice carried the fire of a species that refused to bow. "Then you just declared it." On humanity? Everyone in the room felt it, fear being replaced by something else. Conviction. Sarin pulsed a soft glow. "Hope," it said. "That is your greatest weapon." Webb nodded, "And we're going to aim it at the architects' hearts." Transmission alert chimed. Dash urgent. A council officer stiffened. New incoming signal from outside the galaxy. Elena's eyes widened. "That's impossible." Chen's voice lowered to a razor edge. "Put it through." Static then. A distorted voice, strained and desperate to any surviving civilizations. "This is the last stronghold of the Indari ascendancy. We fought the architects." Screams in the background. Weapons fire. "Run. There is no." The transmission cut to silence. Waleed stared at the dead screen. "We're next." Webb inhaled slowly through the pain in his ribs. "Not if we hit first." He turned toward the command team. "Prep the fleets. We leave in ours." Reeves grinned with brutal resolve. "Time to show the universe why nobody messes with Earth." Above them, the monoliths completed their alignment. A pulse of dark energy rippled outward. The countdown had begun. As the architects prepare to unleash their full power, humanity rallies the galaxy. But the first strike must come soon, before Earth becomes the anomaly erased from existence. The architects' monoliths loomed like executioners over Zenith Prime. Every second pulsed like the tick of a cosmic bomb. In the command hub, fleets from dozens of species blinked onto the tactical display, small dots against an impossible enemy. Admiral Chin's voice was calm steel. "All vessels, stand by to defend Earth. Captain Webb, your fleet leads the vanguard." Webb nodded, jaw tight. The pain was still there from his encounter in the void, but fear had numbed into pure resolve. Alina stepped to his side. "We're ready." Reeves slammed a magazine into his rifle. "Let's go punch a god in the face." Waleed, recovering from his psychic assault, stood straighter than he felt. "Sir, if we fail," Webb put a hand on his shoulder. "We won't." His eyes flicked upward. "Someone gave us breath for a reason." But strength returned to his stance. Sarin drifted forward, glowing softly. "The other species watch you. They are afraid. They respond to courage. Be what they need." Webb gave a faint smile. "No pressure, right?" Zix approached. Ceremonial mantle draped over his armor. "Human," Zix declared. "You led us through death. Now lead us to life." Webb took a deep breath and spoke loudly enough for every corner of the chamber to hear. "We are done running. We are done being tested. Today, humanity fights not alone, but for every soul that refuses to be erased. A hushed Webb raised his fists. Launch all ships. The hangar roared to life. Dropships thundered. Drones rose like metallic flocks. Fighters screamed across magnetic rails, engines flaring. Webb stepped aboard the UN's Resolute. His bridge crew snapped to stations with renewed fire in their eyes. Set course, Webb commanded. Engage. The fleet surged skyward, an armada of determination cutting through twilight. Ahead, the monoliths shifted, finally acknowledging the threat. Alina studied the scanners. They're powering some kind of gravitational weapon. Reeves cracked his knuckles. Then let's ruin their day. Chen's voice transmitted fleet-wide. All units. Target the lead monolith. Fire at will. Beams of light lanced through space. Missiles streaked. Plasma cannons roared with thunderous fury. The monoliths let the assault hit and shrugged it off. Energy beams dissolved against invisible shields. Reeves' face fell. That's not fair, Alina typed frantically. We're not even scratching them. The monolith surfaces rippled like waking giants. They returned fire. A wall of ionized destruction slammed into the Council fleet. Entire carriers folded inward like crumpling paper. Dozens of species died before they could even scream. Webb's knuckles went white. Brace impact. Shockwaves hammered the Resolute, tossing the crew violently. Sparks rained from the ceiling. Alina gasped. Shields at 20%. We need a miracle, Reeves muttered. Waleed whispered under his breath. Someone, please help us. Serene stared at the readings. Their weakness is not external. We must disrupt the hive signal. Sever control. Webb's eyes widened. The signal is coming from the Queen's remnants there, using her neural matrix. Alina nodded fiercely. If we destroy the signal relay, the monoliths lose coordination. Webb didn't hesitate. Divert course. Target the carcass site. But Sirth, Adams stammered. If we don't break their network now, Webb said, there won't be an Earth. Resolute dove toward the surface in a burning arc. The monoliths reacted instantly, beams tracking their descent like hunting spears. The Resolute dodged through chaos, alarms screaming. A near hit tore off their starboard wing metal, shrieking as systems flickered. Waleed shouted over the din. We can't take another hit like that. Webb glared out the forward viewport. We won't need to. The Queen's corpse lay ballow-blackened flesh and twisted metal glowing with unnatural energy. Fire everything. Webb commanded. The ship unleashed its arsenal, a storm of missiles and plasma. Explosions hammered the ghastly remains. The relay crystal shattered in a burst of shadow and light. Instantly. The monolith beams sputtered, shields flickering. Elena's eyes lit with wild hope. Yes. Their synchronization is failing. Chen's voice cut in. All ships now. Hit them with everything. The galaxy answered. Hundreds of surviving vessels unleashed fury. A monolith cracked down the middle, silently drifting apart. The first victory, Reeves. Whooped loud enough to shake ceilings. How's that for worthy? But celebration died instantly, because the other monoliths changed shape-shifting into nightmarish war forms. Their next shot was already charging, Alina whispered. They're adapting faster than we can hurt them. Webb stared into the abyss of space. He thought of Earth, the oceans, the mosques that echoed with morning prayers, his father's laugh, the taste of street dosa from a vendor outside his old apartment. Life. Sacred life. He closed his eyes and breathed a silent plea. If you're listening, we need you now. He opened his eyes and noticed something, the light. Tiny specks escaping from the dying monolith. Not debris. Data traveling toward the others. Alina gasped. They're backing up the signal. If they finish that transfer, then the network reforms, Webb finished, and we lose everything. Saren looked at him, realizing his intention. You cannot reach that range. You will not return. Webb's face softened into a small, defiant smile. Doesn't matter. As long as they don't get Earth? Elena grabbed his arm. Voice breaking, no, not you. He gently rested a hand on hers. This is what I was meant for. She shook her head. I can't, I won't. Reeves stepped forward, eyes blazing with loyalty. Then I'm going with you. Webb looked at his brother, in arms pure admiration in his eyes. No, you keep them alive. Keep fighting. Reeves' throat tightened. Then come back, he choked. Webb didn't answer. He moved to the emergency pod. Waleed stepped in front of him. Why you? He whispered. Webb looked past him to the stars. Because I'm the one they tried to tempt. And the one who said no? He placed his communicator into Waleed's hand. Tell Earth. I kept my promise. The pod launched. Webb soared through the void, directly into the torrent of data light. His suit's power core overloaded, intentionally, his breathing loud in his helmet. The monoliths closed ranks too late. Webb slammed. Into the data stream, detonating the core. A silent supernova. Light cascaded through the monolith matrix, corrupting every node. Code became chaos. Perfect order shattered into disarray. The monoliths stopped, then collapsed. One by one, they broke apart, falling into dead, drifting husks. The sky cleared, and stillness returned. The shockwave left Webb tumbling weightless. Breath fading, stars twinkled around him, peaceful. Beautiful, he whispered, barely conscious. Not luck. Someone wanted me to live, to fight. A silhouette of light flickered ahead of him, shaped like a doorway. Warmth wrapped around his fading body. He didn't know what waited beyond, but he wasn't afraid. Humanity wasn't a mistake. He smiled. We're worthy, because we choose to care. His eyes closed. On resolute, Elena screamed, Captain WEBB static. Reeves bowed his head, fury and heartbreak tearing him apart. Saren spoke softly. He has not vanished. The void took him, but something holds him. Waleed clenched Webb's communicators, tracking down his cheeks. He saved us all. Chen's voice cracked but held strong. All ships. Victory confirmed. Around the galaxy, celebrations erupted. Species who had never known unity now cheered as one. Humanity had saved them. Humanity had proven its worth. Back on Earth, under the same star's web, loved a child pointed upward. Look, Mama. A falling star. His mother smiled. Make a wish. The star flickered bright, then gone. Hope. Delivered the Ian Deeb, legends of Captain Marcus Webb had only just begun, because somewhere beyond the stars, he was still falling, and someone was waiting for him to awaken.